Hello and welcome to Shelf Centered. I know I talk about Malazan or Malazan, however you want to pronounce it, a lot on this channel. It's because I love it. All right, so that's where we're at. I already did Why Read Malazan Book of the Fallen. I wanted to do, I don't hear or see enough love for the Ian Cameron Esslemont Malazan Empire series. And I wanted to really, for fans or non-fans alike, which I'm judging you if you're not a fan, just kidding. But I just feel like Ian Cameron Esslemont, for some reason, people will kind of dismiss this series. It's almost like, well, 10 books is enough, all right? For me, it's not enough because the 10 books in the main Malazan Book of the Fallen series only gets you into so many details of the series, which is insane because I know some books are 1,200 pages in the mass market paperback, and so we're talking tons of pages, and you still, I feel like, barely really start to brush what even, I was going to say brush the surface. You brush more than the surface of the world, but there's still so much more. There's so much more, and guess what? Esslemont has provided, and he has this whole series. Obviously, there's the Carcanus series, and I might be mispronouncing that, that Steven Erikson has written, and the third book apparently has already been started in that trilogy. The God Is Not Willing just came out, so the Witness trilogy with Karsa Orlong has started. That first book's already out, so there's definitely lots more to explore, but Ian C. Esslemont, I think, is really brilliant and gets overlooked. And even those that have read some kind of, just in what I've seen, have been a little bit dismissive. And I just feel like, I think one of the biggest thing that, if you can come in with the right kind of attitude, because here's the deal, Esslemont brings the same feel, the same world. You are in the Malazan world. And I wanted to make sure this is clear. This is going to be no spoilers. But the world feels Malazan. It absolutely does. I just finished Blood and Bone, which is the fifth in the Malazan Empire series. I'm doing my thing. My problem with series that I love is that I take forever to get through them because I don't want them to ever end. And here I am again. So my goal, though, is to finish this series by the end of the year. And I only have one more book to go. So I think I felt like it was enough to say, hey, let's do a Why Read the Malazan Empire series. I've read enough in them to, I think, make the argument for it. I don't think the last book's going to disappoint now that I'm this far. Maybe they are. But what I think people tend to do is compare it, inevitably, of course, to Erikson. And Erikson, his series is brilliant. I absolutely admit that. And I feel like one way to kind of approach this series is, imagine if Erikson didn't exist and you had this. It's still using the same types of, well, one, the characters are there, the same kind of world building and everything is there, and it may not be Erikson, but it is his own thing, his own deal. And so anyway, just wanted to convince you, because one of the things that I think, and they're somewhat standalone-ish, they're not fully, I think the best way to go is to go book by book. Because they do kind of follow a couple characters that tend to appear in all of them, except for the ones that didn't appear in Blood and Bone. But the Crimson Guard, that's one that if you read the first couple books, especially of the Malazan Book of the Fallen, and you hear about the Crimson Guard, this mercenary company that makes this vow, so they become the Avowed, that they vow essentially, because they hate the Malazan Empire, and they vow to go after them no matter what. And they ended up, because of this vow that they made and whatever was tied to it, they essentially are indestructible, crazy people that can, anyway, they're just gnarly mercenaries. And they're so awesome. And I know I've talked to a lot of people that are like, I want to know more about the Crimson Guard. And I'm like, read Esslemont. That's who you get to find out a lot more about them. So anyway, I wanted to kind of go book by book and tell kind of some of the things, non-spoilery, what kind of makes them special and what kind of what they can add to the main series. I'm hoping. We'll see. First one, Night of Knives. It's very short. It literally is like one night of, here's some stuff that happened. This is, because we already know from the main series that Calanved and Dancer make, essentially ascend, and this is like essentially when they do that. We learn about Temper, who's kind of this unassuming guard at Mock's Hold. He starts to be revealed, like he actually got pretty close to Dazim Ultor. And again, if you've read the main Malazan series, Dazim Ultor, like if that doesn't make you go, oh my gosh, the stuff of legend, the legendary swordsman, the first sword of the Malazan Empire, and Temper could go essentially toe-to-toe with him to a degree, since it's all kind of acknowledged that Dazim Ultor is the best. But you get that. One of the things is Ian Esslemont, he kind of has his kind of batch of characters. And so, again, a lot of the things that are mentioned and aren't delved into in the main Malazan series are handled by Esslemont, they're kind of his characters. One of the big ones is Taishran, that nutty mage that, again, is at the highest of high mages, the Imperial High Mage, Taishran. You have so many good characters, but you kind of get to know them. But again, this is one night. It's a quick one. It's an easy read. And I do think this is what Esslemont does best, is kind of this more intimate, tight, kind of structured story. Return of the Crimson Guard. I mean, do you need more than that? One of the coolest is that just some things to kind of get you excited. And again, nothing that isn't really already told to you in the Dramatis Personae, I believe. First of all, you got a lot more Crimson Guard going on. That's the important thing. That's really the best part of it. Crimson Guard, you get to know some of the main characters pretty well that Esslemont follows in here, but tons of the Crimson Guard you really get close to. Just a gnarly story. This is one that, the main series really didn't spend a lot of time here, but this takes you to Unta, Quantali. There we go. Quantali, you get to spend some actual time there. Then this is literally, there's the Malaz Island. This is kind of like where it all starts, right? So I remember being so fascinated by that. You get some Old Guard, you get some, it's so great. This is one of my favorites. One of the best things, because I say the best time to read this is you got to read it before Toll the Hounds. There's some big things that happen in here that are kind of just brushed over. And it's like, yeah, this thing kind of happened. And you're like, wait, what happened? You were going to tell us about that? Well, right here, because you got to read this. All right, Stone Wielder. And this is another one. We get to explore a cool part of the Malazan world. And we're talking Coral, the lands of Fist, right? So we got to go in there, the lands of Fist. We get to discover that. We get to see Greymane. Another one of those contracted, there we go, the Stormwall, the legendary Stormwall. In Bone Hunters, you have, what's her name? The captain that's a total jerk, but semi-redeems herself, I guess. Ferret Sort, is that what it is? Captain Sort, Ferret Sort? Might be. Kind of, because she hints, she's not in this, maybe. It's been a little bit. How cool are these covers, too? Lots of boats. But you've got, the legendary kind of the wall, the people that guard the wall. You get to learn a little bit about the, what are their names? The Storm Riders. And Greymane. Greymane's the big one. He's an ex-fist for the Malazan Empire, trying to just kind of disappear. But, oh man, this is a good one. Big campaign here. Lots of great stuff, and just you learn so much more about this world. Again, another whole continent that's like referenced, but you don't really know much about. This one, we get back to Darujistan. And Segula, anyone? Segula are like my favorite thing that when I learned about them, I think it was in Memories of Ice. Segula, this is your Segula book. You learn, like, this is where I try to tell people, like, you learn so much about them, you actually get to go see to their island, see what's even going on. You get to learn because there's a connection that's referenced in the Bone Hunters. As I'm rereading now, I actually got that kind of talks about there's some kind of connection between the Segula and Darujistan. And boom, right here. It's so cool. Also, you get a little bit more, not as much as like the Segula because they are awesome. I mean, come on. A legendary fighting society where a legendary ascended or god, Animander Rake, randomly ends up at the society, ends up challenging enough people that he gets ranked because they rank among martial prowess, and he gets ranked, first through thousands. He ends up with himself ranked at 7th. And again, that just kind of like casually mentioned that in the main series, but we get to go into it. But the Moranth, we get a little bit more information on them. Erickson and Esslemont they're really tight on their information about the Moranth. And I want to know so much more, especially with their munitions. But anyway, just having even the little drops of extra information that you get here. Just a cool story. Oh my gosh. I mean, the first. You ever thought about who's the freaking first? If the punitive army of the Segula was 3 dudes and one of them is the third, and it's like go enact our retribution on this whole continent with the 3 of you. I want to learn about the first. Just saying. This is the one I was going to do a review, and then I was like, you know what? I don't know if I could just start out right on book 5 for reviewing. So Blood and Bone, I mean, if Erickson and Esslemont have made, deserts even more unpalatable as I ever thought they would be by reading Deadhouse Gates. They made ice and Stonewilder, and in like not Memories of Ice, but in Midnight Tides, ice, man, just so unpleasant, frostbite, all that, just how miserable. I mean, they really know how to like talk to you and get you feeling just terrible about any place. Anyway, so this adds jungle. Jungle is also just a miserable place that you never, ever, ever want to go to. So yeah, jungle. I literally don't want to find myself in a jungle ever again after reading this. But you've got, Merc and Sour in here, just this hilarious pair. So he does, a little bit of a Tehol and Bug, but again, it's not Tehol and Bug. It's Esslemont's like kind of funny characters that aren't them. They're their own thing, and they're hilarious and they're great. But 2 mages that are really make this book good. But have you not wondered about, because again, this is mentioned, and I'm literally reading it, but you hear about Jacuruku and Ardata, and if I'm pronouncing any of these right, but that's this goddess, this jungle goddess. What's interesting is you get really into the thaumaturges who do their own kind of magic, but they also experiment on people and things and everything, and to really terrible degrees. Just seriously, I picked it up. I was immediately like, I'm in Malazan. This is so good. And seriously, I enjoyed every moment of this. Highly recommended. Now, this is the last one. Really my only complaint is they didn't do these in the same, like, you can't probably tell, but this is slightly shinier. They did it in like this kind of more shiny, plasticky, I don't know, but this is like the nice. I love how these are printed, and this is kind of more of, I don't know, just seems like a cheaper printing, but anyway, my only complaint. So this is next up. Like I said earlier, I have not actually read this one yet, but who hasn't wondered about a sale? I mean, again, especially if you read the last, all the books, but a sale. There we go. We're going to get into a sale. But again, things that are kind of talked about and mentioned in the main series and that Esslemont goes into. And again, with great characters, with the holds and the magic, the sorcery, I just love how everything is just so, it's like almost like magic exists in this world, but everyone has a different way that they access it, and they've figured out, I guess, through the millennia or whatever. And I love seeing that. It's just so interesting to me. But again, I can only imagine, but again, it looks like we get into some ice again. I don't know. But I can't recommend these enough, especially if you're already a fan. And again, I wouldn't probably recommend these starting out. I mean, maybe Knight of Knives is really short. It can like, hey, am I going to like this Malazan stuff? I think it was extra good because I was already intrigued. One of the cool things is I thought that was a good one to read before Bone Hunters, because you learn a lot about some things that happen that Bone Hunters then deals with. So I'll have to come up with I'll get a list, go through kind of a good reading order. Again, if you want to go all in, but because I actually did. I was told the reading order, and I interspersed some Esslemont in between my main reading of Malazan. But again, that's a lot to ask of anyone. I'm more making the case that if you've read the main series, this is worth picking up, especially if you loved Malazan, even a fraction of the amount that I do, because they're worth it. They're all worth it. They're incredibly well written, and they have the feel. They have everything about it that an Erikson book has. It's not Erikson though, right? And I hope that that's clear too. And but again, imagine if there was no Erikson. I would be seriously amazed at that this world exists regardless. So highly recommended. Do yourself a favor. If you're already a Malazan fan, this is worth every moment of your time. You get to learn, if anything, to just learn more about the world that just has begun to kind of open up in the Malazan main series. And that's why I'm reading it. That's why I'm doing it. All right. Hey, thank you for your time here. I hope I wasn't too disjointed, and I hope that this was kind of fun for you. It was fun for me. I love talking this stuff. So anyway, appreciate your time. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out, and I can't thank you enough. We'll see you. Bye.